back. I'm in a mood. uh, Today was my daughter's first day of kindergarten, and it was really hard for me because their dad has them this week, and so, you know, I missed her first day of preschool too, like her new preschool. And so these milestones, this is the hard part. One of the hard parts when it comes to divorce and you have little kids. It's like those first, It's like whenever our kids were babies and you were working, and I work full time after a certain time after maternity leave, and you have to go back to work. So when the kids were babies, they would have these first, you know what I'm saying? It could have been the first words, it could have been the first crawl, roll over, just all these different things. And you miss them, but the sitter or whoever's watching them, they see those first, but they gotta act like it's your first. So it's funny because when they have those first with you as a parent, you're just like, oh my God, and then you find out later, oh, they've been doing that for weeks. But it's just them, they've been doing it with you like for the first time, and it's just like, so I don't know. And it makes me feel some kind of way because their dad is experiencing that, and it's fine because I think that it's actually good because I wouldn't have been able to be there anyway because I have to teach. And so it was my first day at school, or working from my classroom virtually with students. So that was new. Everything is new, like this whole new way of learning and teaching and everything. It's just something for the history books, I guess. You think about, you remember that year that we started out virtual and you didn't even get to see the people in person. You have to do everything through, for us, it's like Google Meet, but some people is Zoom, some people is Microsoft Teams. And, some co-workers I haven't even met in person. They're all like virtual. Are you a real person? It's like looking at TV sometimes. It's like, So, but yeah, I called like their dad about 3 times today. And he was gracious enough to talk to her and ask all these questions, and the same thing I probably would have done to the teacher. So, but she did fine, and yeah. So, but yeah, it's just one of those things that's hard, and you definitely gotta grow some thick skin, for sure. So, on another note, call me Matchmaker because I feel like I need a side business, matchmaking people, because my friend and the guy I'm dating now, D, his friend, I put them together. Boom. They really like each other. He came from his city down to her city, and they hit it off. Who did that? I did it. She thanks me all the time. My sisters both do as well. So, I don't know. I really like it. I think it's fun. I like to see people happy, I've always been like, but I've done it for more than just me, my sisters. You know, like even when I was just friends with people, I would see like, you know, this person, I think their personalities would do well. I just like that kind of stuff. It's always intrigued me, you know. So, and like I used to watch Million Dollar Matchmaker, and I'm like, what happened to her? I think she got married or something, and I don't know if she's still married to that guy. I think they got divorced or something. But I loved her show. She was like brutally honest sometimes with people, but I don't know. It was just entertaining, the whole thing. She was making money. So there's just some little hiccups in my relationship. It's just I don't want to say it's something major, but it's something minor that could be major. You know what I mean? If not checked sooner than later. For me, when people are going through a divorce, I do think they need time for themselves. I do think there's time that they need to take to find out who they are, find out what they like, what they don't like, who are they, you know, as a person outside of their spouse. I do think that's the case. I feel like the person I'm dating, they're trying to do that, you know, but I came along, you know what I mean? And now we're in this thing, and I don't know, like, sometimes I think that he's ready for it, and then sometimes I'm like, I don't know if he is. Like, I don't know if he's completely over his ex. He definitely doesn't understand the relationship between me and my ex, and I don't think anybody will. I think that's the way that things should be. If you are going to not be with the person you're with, I still feel like you should be friends. I feel like if you can, I mean, obviously there's all kinds of things. If you, like, we have little kids, and so it's just doesn't make sense for us not to have any kind of relationship that we can't talk and we have to get along. It just has to happen, because I feel like when you have older kids, like teenagers and whatnot, I just feel like you can raise them separately and really don't have to interact that much, unless it's like major situation where you have to come together and decide things. But, you know, and it's, there are things that I don't like that's happening with his relationship, and I'm doing a lot of like soft treading and watching what I say, which is really hard for me. But I can feel myself being myself. I've been told on occasion that I can be a little mean. And I know this about myself. And I don't always feel like it's mean so much as it's like I can be very blunt and direct, you know. And I may not worry so much about how it's received and the person's feelings. So I do have to worry about, I do have to keep that in mind. But I feel like sometimes it's not just that. Sometimes for me, I feel like if you're not being considerate of my feelings, why should I be considerate of yours? See what I'm saying? I feel like if you're not really taking my feelings into consideration, like, why should I care how I say things to you? Why should I care how it comes off if your behavior and your actions are showing me the opposite of what you're saying? Case in point. In my situation, I do feel like he loves me. I do. But I feel like when it comes to his situation, I don't feel like he's moving fast enough. And I feel like there's the excuse of, well, my kids and my kids and my kids and my kids and my kids. And that excuse is getting super old because his kids are older, a lot older than mine. When I left, my kids were 1 and 3. And I just feel like kids, it's going to be hard regardless. And I just feel like you got to rip the Band-Aid off at some point. And I'm not trying to tell a person how to deal with their situations because everybody's situation is different. And so I don't like to say, well, because I did this way, you should do it that way. But along those lines, I'd like for them to take into consideration my feelings in the time frame that is taking for things to move forward with him and his ex. So that's bothering me. I've already voiced my concerns. Now what he does with that information is on him. And it's been like 6 months. Like, it doesn't feel like it. It feels like it's only been 2, but time has really been flying. I feel like COVID's just like, even though it's like, it's been a long time, but it hasn't felt like a long time. I don't know. It's really weird. And with certain things. And with him, it's still pretty new. I mean, it's not like, it's like we've been together a long time. But I just feel like things should be progressing a little bit further and quicker than they are. And I think that I've been more than patient in this regard. And I can feel my patience running thin. And I can feel my attitude changing and how I respond to him. I may not be as tender and kind and loving. Like, I can feel it, but it's because I'm hurt by it. And I don't really, I didn't go into all of the feelings I was feeling because I just felt like it was just going to come out wrong. Because I can feel when I'm hurt, I attack, and that's not right. It's just something I've been going through for years. I went to counseling and, we've been I was dealing with it from then, years ago. But when she identified it, it's just like, when I'm hurt, I lash out. It's a defense mechanism because I don't like to share my feelings. Like, I don't want to seem like I'm vulnerable or feel like I'm exposed. And so I'm feeling really exposed and vulnerable and almost taken advantage of to a certain degree. Even though that may not be what's happening. I'm not saying that's what's happening. I don't know what's going on behind closed doors. And I feel like communication is so key. But it's like, for me, it's just hard for me to open up. Because I just don't like people to have that kind of power over me and my emotions. And I don't like sharing them all the time. I just feel like, let me just deal with it and then I'll get over it and I can move on. So, it's a lot. It's a lot for me to digest, and it's been a lot for me to process even. And work is, I like when I'm back at work because it keeps my mind off of things. So, yeah. So, there's that. But I will say that I still like he's, one of the sweetest guys I've ever met. Just slow with, with things. And so, we'll see. I do have a time, I have a time frame in my head, and I'm giving him time. But I do know that the first, when I mentioned what I mentioned, was a warning. And he can do with that whatever he wants. But at some point, I love myself too much to continue with feeling like I'm on hold. And so I like to be number one. So, because if you're number one to me, I want to be number one to you. And that's period. And if I'm not feeling like that, then that's a problem. And I don't, it'll be, if it has to end, like I'll be sad, but I'll be glad that it didn't go any further. I'd rather end things early and hurt a little bit versus waiting, dragging it out, and then hurting a lot later. So more on that later. We'll see. My friend, I think she's gonna talk to his friend, and then maybe he can explain to him kind of what I'm dealing with in men's terms, I guess. So it'll get better, and like one way or the other, it'll be fine. And I'm still like glad that I met him because he's definitely helped me see things in myself that I haven't seen before in a long time, and he makes me happy. And I haven't really been happy in a long time. So who knows? Like sometimes people are in your life for like a season, and you just never know like why they're there. So if he's the guy that's on the way for me to meet the guy, or he could be the guy. So I don't know. We'll see. Stay tuned. And with that.